And if you're just joining us, my special guest today is Josh Marino. He's a dedicated Iraqi war veteran. And at the first segment, we were talking about his time in Iraq and how a near-death experience led to his personal struggles with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. We hear about that a lot in the media. It takes different forms. It affects different people. And in Josh's case, it really, really affected him. He went from thinking that he'd have a career in the military to when he returned home, he had some struggles to deal with. But there was a silver lining to that cloud. And I'll let Josh talk about that.
Yeah, we when we came back, when we redeployed to the States, it was great. Everybody was in high spirits. We were able to see our families and our friends, and we basically just started to, after a small break, a small vacation, we all got back into the swing of things and cleaning things up and get ready to do the redeployment stuff. But for a number of individuals in my unit, especially a lot of people within the combat arms MOSs, the elements of PTSD were just entirely too great for some of them to overcome. Um, I think it was. I think nowadays we have a better understanding of PTSD, especially within the military. But back then, back in like 2008, 2009, we really didn't have too strong of a grasp on it. And in some cases, a lot of individuals were seeing that they really couldn't they really couldn't get any better. They didn't know what they were going to do. The lives that they had been leading up until that point in time were over, and they had to figure out how to exist with the pain, with this anxiety, with this depression. And that happened with me as well. I started to realize that I wasn't able to focus on things from the elements of the concussions that I sustained. I couldn't focus. I couldn't remember things. And when it came right down to it, little tiny things that you would never even think about, all of a sudden I couldn't do. I used to love playing first person shooter video games. I sat down the night after my injury and I picked up a controller, and my buddy wanted to play Halo with me, and lo and behold, I couldn't even remember how to play. I had no idea. So it's these little things that you don't expect, and all of a sudden they crop up and they keep compounding themselves, and eventually it gets to a point where some people try to take the ultimate decision and they try to end their life. And that's exactly what I saw was the best option for me. I had convinced myself that I really wasn't anything more than damaged goods for the most part, that I couldn't get any better. I couldn't continue doing the job that I wanted to do. And I saw a lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues were, to me, it seemed like they were looking down on me, like I wasn't able to hack it anymore. And I had convinced myself that my parents and my friends at home would forgive me for doing what I was about to do. And I actually took out a knife one day and decided that I was going to kill myself. I was going to take my own life. And I prepared for it. And all the preparations that I made and the decisions that I made that day, the confidence that I had to go through with it was kind of shattered in an interesting way. And that's the story that we're here to talk about. Um, a lot can happen in just a couple of minutes, and you tend to get help from those sources that you least expect at the times when you least expect. And that's exactly what happened with me.
Yeah, so when I watched the video, you're at your darkest point, and you went out for a final cigarette, right? And then
Yeah.
something happened.
Yeah, I I went downstairs and I didn't care about getting wet. It was storming outside, but it was one of those cold fall storms. And I just went out there and I lit up a cigarette and sat down on the stoop of our barracks in the back of the building. And I was thinking to myself as to what was going on, and was getting ready to, getting my gumption up to go and do what I wanted to do what I felt like I needed to do. And all of a sudden there was this little meow from underneath the bushes directly to my right. And when I looked over to this little meow, there's this little black and white kitten that looks like he's wearing a tuxedo. He comes crawling out from underneath the bushes and straight up to my legs, and he starts like reaching up and pawing on me. And I gave him a pet, and I went to stand up. And when I stood up, or when I was trying to stand up, he reached up and grabbed onto my knee and tried to haul himself up onto my lap with those needle sharp claws. So I sat back down and I let him curl up on me for a little bit. And he really changed my outlook that day. He made me feel like that I wasn't damaged, that I was loved, that I was needed, and that I still had a lot to do in this world, in this life.
And there's a part of the story where so how long did you actually take care of him at the barracks before you got separated?
It was like I said, it was in the fall when I first met the little guy, and I'd say probably for about like 2 or 3 months, maybe 3.5 months. I was I would come home from work every day, and it was the best part of my day was I would get home, I'd grab a hold of a packet of tuna and a paper plate, and I would head downstairs and out the back door and start smacking the tuna off the heel of my hand, and these little kittens would come running out from underneath the barracks in the boiler room, would just like it would be like a big old ball of fur and tails that would come rolling over to get their food. And I put the tuna on a little paper plate, and they would eat. And then that little guy that sat on my lap that night, he would finish, and he'd come running right over to me and jump up on my lap again. So it was cool. It was you're not allowed to have pets in the barracks, and a lot of people that lived in the barracks, they really didn't. Um, well, they had their friends, they had their people that they talked to here in the army, but we don't really have many people that we can talk to without being or feeling judged. And I know I'm safe in saying this because I know a lot of pet owners do the same thing, but we talk to our
Oh
animals,
yeah, oh
and
yeah.
we confess some of our deepest and darkest secrets to our animals, and they never judge us. They never seem like they just want to. They're waiting for you to stop speaking. They just want to sit there and listen to you, or sit there and have you love them. And that's what I did. It was a really cathartic thing with me and this little kitten that just sat there and let me talk to him and let me pet him, and the confidence that he afforded me and feeling like I still had a mission, that I still had a purpose, it really turned the tables for me. It really allowed me to look at the world from a different perspective, look at it from a fresh perspective, the one that I had from before when I deployed. And he actually gave me the confidence. I totally ascribe this to the little guy. He gave me the confidence to start going back to school, to start talking to an old friend of mine from back home here in Pittsburgh, and eventually, back in late December in 2008, I sat there on the stoop with this little cat on my lap, and after I fed him, I'm sitting there talking to him, and I kept telling him that, I was going home on leave. I was going on vacation for a couple of weeks. I was going to see my girlfriend, and I was going to ask her to marry me. So that little cat, that little kitten, he was the first person to know that I planned on proposing to my now wife.
And he already had a
So
tux, right? He already had his tux. So,
in fact, I kind of wanted him to be the ring bearer, but he had better ideas.
so was it right away? So you meet Scout, and was Scout named Scout then, or was this at a later time?
No, he wasn't. It was when I first encountered the little guy. I referred to him for months. I talked to him as he was my little buddy or little guy, or just like, hey, you, or whatever it was. I never gave him a name, and I I ascribe that to. I'm a big fan of Breakfast at Tiffany's,
Ah, yeah.
and watching Audrey Hepburn, how her reaction with the cat and Breakfast at Tiffany's, she never gives the cat a name, and that's pretty much what I was doing with this little kitten. I didn't want him to feel like he wasn't mine, but he was his own cat. He was his own person, so he could have whatever name he wanted. But then it came around to one day I went out there to feed these little kittens, and I was smacking the tuna on the heel of my hand, and nobody's coming. None of the cats are coming out of the little broken window to the boiler room. Couldn't figure out where they were, and I talked to the person that was in charge of the quarters for that day, and they told me that the post animal control officers had come around and had picked up all the stray cats, and I didn't know what happened to them, and I was kind of broken up right then and there. But at that point in time, this little kitten had given me my confidence, like I said, and I had already turned the page on that dark chapter of my life and started to get better. So
And was
I
it an immediate? So you're on the brink of ending your life. You meet this kitten. Was it a sudden decision? Did you talk to Scout about how you felt about that later, or was it just because of I? The more I live in this world, I believe in fate, serendipity. There's always being somewhere at the right time, and Scout was there for you at the right time. But was it immediate change for you, or was it something that because of this friendship it developed and like it was like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I've got this purpose I have. So there's someone who needs me. He's given me this. He's my best friend. He's given me direction and drive. I'm able to talk to him and everything. Was it a sudden change for you?
That's pretty much what it was.
Wow.
It's very sudden. It was right after he curled up on my lap that rainy night. It was. Uh, I'm pretty darn glad that it was a stormy night, because whenever the staff duty officers came around inspecting the barracks and making sure everything was hunky dory, They walked past, and if it wasn't raining, they would have seen me bawling my eyes out. But instead, I just kind of looked like I was a guy that crawled out of a lake after rescuing a small kitten. But it was very sudden. It was one of those things where um, I don't know. It's really hard to describe. It was I don't want to say it was cathartic because that took a long time to really get better. It took several weeks, months to really understand that, this life of mine wasn't mine to take, that I definitely do have a purpose, that I do have something that's going to keep me going on. But that night, it was in a heartbeat. Everything just changed. Everything flipped around 180 degrees.
And thanks for watching. If you like what you see, press the button to subscribe.